cold countries, we have to winterize our bikes, unfortunately. So that's what I'm going to do today, and I'll show you the few different things that are recommended. So I just pulled this bike out of that shed, and if you can come close and take a look at the frost that I saw. We've had sub-0 degrees the last couple of weeks, and you can see that there's frozen matter around the engine and the tank. It really scared me when I first saw it, but it's completely normal. It's just condensation that froze. So the first thing I did was pull the bike out, and I'm just gonna give it a start. Put it out in the sun. Lucky to have a little bit of sunshine today. First thing I do is really just see if it can start. Great. So just let it run for a little while. So now that you ran your bike for, let's say, 5-10 minutes, all of the stuff is melted off. What we want to do is, well, the first thing I did was I went to a gas station and filled up one of these things because we're going to need to fill up the tank before we park it. So this step involves actually putting fuel stabilizer. I just got this brand Sta-bil. I got it from Amazon. It was like less than $20. And what we want to do here is avoid the fuel going bad over the winter or rusting the tank. So the process is to fill the tank up, and there's a certain ratio that you have to follow. So these Guzzis have a 21-liter tank, and every ounce of this covers around 10 liters. So I got to put about 2.5 ounces. On all of that stuff is written on the back of this and also in your user manual. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the tank up and put the appropriate ratio in here. And then the process is to actually ride your bike around, ideally for at least 10 minutes, so that the entire, the fuel, this combination circulates through the entire engine. So I'm going to do that now. That's 1 ounce. I got to do that 3 more times. Not that. I'm just going to go for about a 5 or 10 minute ride. The next thing you want to do is clean your motorcycle before storing it away. So after riding it for 5 or 10 minutes, having the solution, the mix of the stabilizer and the fuel run through the entire system of the motorcycle, what you want to do is basically clean it as much as possible. I just have an all-purpose cleaner here in a rag. You can see there's all kinds of little places in the bike that you want to just keep clean, avoid any salt sticking on it for the rest of the winter. Any dirt, you just really want to have it as clean as possible before you store it away. So I'm going to do that next. Now that we've cleaned the motorcycle, we're going to have to take the battery out before we store it for the winter. And for that, you're going to need 2 hex keys, a 4.0 and a 5.0. And I'll show you how that's done now. So the first thing we want to do is take the seat off. So we can access the battery. These Guzzis have the battery, you can access the battery from the right side panel. So using your 4.0s, we're just gonna kind of undo these a bit. Those of you who follow me know that these side panels are actually aftermarket from Bach, because I wanted to put these leather side pockets on the side. But even if you have the stock version, it's still the exact same process. It's getting pretty cold up here in Canada. So if you are somewhere warm, I envy you because you can keep riding. Me, on the other hand, I have to fly somewhere south where it's warm so I can ride, which I'm doing. Now that the side panel is off, what we want to do is, there's a couple of screws up top here. Using your, I think, 4.0 hex key. These instructions are actually in your user's manual, so just follow those. You just have to unscrew these just enough, not all the way, just enough so that you can take out the battery. Little notch there, you'll understand. And for this part, it's actually a Phillips head square screwdriver, and it's pretty tight, so I'm actually just gonna get my motorized one and unscrew the negative charge first, the negative clamp first. Now, I did mention this, but it goes without saying, you gotta make sure your key is off, is out of the bike, just to avoid any unnecessary closed circuits. Then you take the positive lead off and put the cable on the side. You have these two screws that come off. Just make sure you don't lose them. We're going to need them again. Keep them safe. I just keep them with the battery. Sorry, I have to put my gloves on. It's cold. Might have to loosen these top ones again a little bit more. So this bit was a little bit tricky. Initially when I said to use the 4.0 hex keys to release the top two screws, you actually have to take this whole segment out. It looks just like that, and we'll have to replace that at the end, but this is the piece that's kind of keeps this bracket and the battery in. So release this clamp, put it on the side, pull the battery out very firmly. Just take the battery out of its housing, and you want to keep the battery flat and in a dry place. We'll get to that next. Now that we've done this, we just want to put the housing back and attach this piece back to where it was so that we don't lose it. The battery is out. We want to put these side panels back on. I actually only took my right one out. The instruction manual will tell you to take both sides off, but you really don't need to. Next step, just put the side panel back. The next thing we want to do is make sure that we don't have little critters like mice or insects or spiders go in the various places that they can go, and one thing that they recommend is to close up the exhaust system, these holes. We've got some tips to use steel wool. You can also just wrap it around with plastic bags, but mice can bite through these, so we're going to do both. I'm just going to put a little bit of steel wool in here just to block the opening, both sides. All you need is a little bit just to clog it up. Make sure you leave enough steel wool out so that you can pull it out when you're done at the end of this, when you pull your bike back out. And very simply, easy enough, just use your foot pegs. Other side. One of the last but very important things we have to do is top up the gas tank again, because we did go for that 10-minute ride. We want to make sure that the gas is as high as possible on the tank to avoid any rusting. So that's what I'm going to do now. And after that, I'm just going to cover it up with a tarp. Please subscribe to my channel, because at the end of the winter, I'm going to be putting up a video on how to prepare the motorcycle again for the road. What's really important is we don't forget what we've done to winterize it, because it's going to be in storage for several months. So we don't want to forget things like we put steel wool in to block this thing. So we want to mark it off. What I'm simply going to do is make a list of all the things I've done.